ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನೀವೇನೋ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸೆಲ್ಫಿ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್ ಹಂಗೆ
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ತುಂಬ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಓರಿ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಇರ್ಲಿ ತೊಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಆಗ್ಬಾರ್ದು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕಣ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇರ್ಲಿ ಓರೆ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಕಾಣೋದಾಗಿ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಅದು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಹೌದಲ್ವಾ
ಇದು ಹಾಕುವಾಗ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸರ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆಗೆ ಹಾಕುವಾಗ ಸರ್ ಇದು ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ ಅದು ಮೇಲಲ್ಲಿ
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಹೌದು ಫೋಲ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿದೆ
ಅವರು ಸೌಜನ್ಯ ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನೋ ನೋಡ್ಸಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಸರ್ ಬಂತು ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿ
ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ in our last class we started with this topic zamindari revolt we started zamindari revolts right what is the reason behind these zamindars the friends of britishers they fight against
because the british they were powerful and they had the judicial and legislative power
yes.
Then after the british they don't have any power and they
that is not right they had some power
they came under the british they were accountable to british
they are accountable to british they are supposed to accountable otherwise they are not next
zamindari settlement zamindari system 54% of
they lost next why what are the other reasons
social issues ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನು some of the
you know what yesterday we did lot many topics that is not one class topic you know this I don't know how it I got covered those many topics have you understood all the topics
yes.
all rebellions and just
ಅದೇ ಸರ್ social
not only you everybody
because upper class ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅನ್ಟಚಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ತೆಗೆದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ
they don't want changes in the society in the Indian society so Britishers they brought change next
and if zamindars don't listen to the British then British will attack them
okay
that's also
what are the different zamindari revolts in Andhra Pradesh what happened
zamindar
what happened okay what is Raja of Visakhapatnam story
Raja
Veera Pandya Kotta Bomman
zamindar of
Veera Bahadur
Raja
no Veera Pandya or Veera Bahadur
Raja
okay Veluthambi
from Travancore Diwan
Kittur
Chennamma
what is Sambalpur uprising
Sambalpur ಇದು ಬೆಂಗಾಲ್ ರೀಜನಲ್ ಮಹಾರಾಜ ಸಾಯಿ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟರ್ಫಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಬಟ್
okay then
government presidency
okay
ಸತವರ್ತಿ ರೂಲರ್ ಅದು ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರ ಬ್ರದರ್ ಸತಾರತ್ ಪ್ರತಾಪ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ ಆಫ್ ಶಿವಾಜಿ ಪ್ರತಾಪ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಅವನನ್ನು ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಲೆಜಿಟಿಮೇಟ್
son okay civil rebellion what is the reason behind civil rebellion because civilians they don't want Britishers entering into India so they revolted against because they already faced exploitation, not only just directly from the British but also their personals like money lenders, midars, officials, and everybody, right? So Sannyasi rebellion, what is the story?
ಗಿರಿ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿಗಳು ನೇಕೆಡ್ ಆಗಿ ರೋವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದನ್ನ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರು ಬ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೋಪ ಬಂದು
ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೇಳಿ what is the Sannyasi rebellion? Farazi movement. Say something about Farazi movement. Okay.
Then later strictly communal.
Okay. What is this Farazi something?
ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಇನಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್
ಪಾಗಲ್ಪಂತಿ.
ಗ್ರಾಜುಯಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಅದು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಮ್ಯುನಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ.
Indiscriminative and excess taxation. Discriminative. Wahhabi. The Wahhabi, that group itself, they had an idea of Muslims should rule the world. And so because of that, Sayyid Muhammad, one branch under the leadership of Sayyid Muhammad, they visited India. Right?
Yes.
Next. You preach unity during peace and war and all. Right? Then, okay. Namdar, you know, next Kuka. What is that? Kuka movement. Okay. Ram Singh was the hero there, right? Guru Gobind Singh was the real Sikh Guru, that and all. And Kuka government they founded. Punjab should belongs to Sikhs, not the British, that kind of thing. Then peasant movements, why peasants revolted, you know, and the reason for the peasant movements, different revenue policies, and the important peasant movement, the first one, Pikes. Tell me something about the Pikes rebellion.
They rebelled against the extending zamindari systems in Odisha.
Odisha, okay. What is Ramosis?
ರಾಮೋಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಟ್ರೈಬಲ್ ಪೀಸೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಥರ್ಡ್ ಆಂಗ್ಲೋ ಮೈಸೂರು ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಅದನ್ನ ಅವರನ್ನ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Gadkari, say something about Gadkari.
Diwan of Kolhapur, because they had selected he supported.
Mundela.
Against the revenue policy leadership
Jawahar Madhukar Shah.
Indigo.
It is the most popular one. Here the exploited farmers who were given compulsory loan, they had to take it. So they should take that and grow indigo. So they refused to take that loan.
Why they refuse? Because they didn't want.
They don't.
Like, if they took loan at any cost, they must cultivate that. If they cultivate that, they'll not get food crops because indigo they're not able to it. That is a commercial crop. So instead of that, they wanted to grow commercial this one food crops. So, next, say something.
ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಳೆಗೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಅವರು
It was successful.
Okay.
ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ
Why it is successful?
ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇ
They to give the tax in the terms of
Okay. Take it in Deccan Riots. The Deccan peasants, they revolted against the British. You know, Bengal famine. And do you know the Deccan famine? On 1875, Deccan Plateau. What is Deccan Plateau? The entire South India, that Plateau, Maharashtra till Tamil Nadu, and parts of Madhya Pradesh and all.
between the coast.
Between two coasts, entire India. Okay. entire South India. That is the Deccan Plateau. On 1875, Deccan also experienced famine. Right? So widespread protest started in the southern part of the India. That is what Deccan riots take. Widespread disturbances started in Maharashtra. Widespread disturbances started in Maharashtra. In the wake of 1875 famine. Wake of 1875 famine. Taking the advantage of the famine conditions. Taking the advantage of the famine condition. So who took this advantage? When farmers are not in a position to pay the taxes, money lenders, they took the advantage of this worst situation of the farmers.
Taking advantage.
Of this worst situation of the farmers, what kind of advantage they took? They started to lend loan for these farmers with high rate of interest. They charged high rate of interest. You know the interest rate they charge in Deccan region 30% to 300%. Very important. This is quoted in so many books. You can write this in your exam. 30% to 300% of the interest rate. ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಂತಲ್ಲ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಕೋಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. What is the extent of money lenders exploitation, which is quoted in so many books? This is like 30% to 300%. They charge interest rate for the loans which the peasants received. Right? So against this, the riots started in Ahmednagar and Pune district of Bengal presidency. Sorry, Bombay presidency. Ahmednagar and Pune districts of Bombay presidency. Later it turns into violent and it looks like armed rebellion. Armed rebellion under the leadership of Vasudev Balwant Phadke. Vasudev Balwant Phadke. See, while discussing Deccan riots, you should not leave this name. You should not forget this name in your answer. You should insert Vasudev Balwant Phadke. He was the one. He took the leadership of this Deccan riot. The riot ended with the Britishers' legislation called 1879 Deccan Peasant Relief Act. 1879 Deccan Peasant Relief Act. This is the legislation which was brought by the British Parliament on 1879. Deccan Peasant Relief Act, which provided guarantees to the peasantry that instead of becoming defaulters in their own land, instead of becoming defaulters in their own land, instead of becoming defaulters in their own land, defaulters means debt trap bidodadlo, they restricted banning or they restricted or they put cap on the amount of borrowing and amount of lending. ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾಲ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾಲ ಇಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಒಬ್ಬ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಹತ್ರ. That was capped. They put restriction through this act on borrowing and lending. So these Deccan peasants, they are safe now. Before the act, Sir Richard's, before the act, Sir Richard Strategy Committee was appointed. Sir Richard Strategy Committee was appointed. According to it, no chance of 50% of the patient recovering from the debt crisis. No chance, underline this, no chance, according to this committee report, no chance of 50% of the, no chance of, according to this committee, no chance of 50% of the patients coming out from the, this, or 50% of patients recovering from the debt crisis. That means 50 ಜನ 50%, half of the patient ಅವರು ಡೆಟ್ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿತಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. 50% of no chance of 50% of the patient recovering from the debt trap. This was the committee's report. Because of that, the parliament took this issue as a serious note, and they implemented this act called 1879 Deccan Peasant Relief Act. They barred the percentage, they barred the cap, they put a cap, not bad, they put a cap on lending and borrowing amount, right? This is the entire Deccan story. By that note, the peasant movement was ended and all movements was ended. So take heading 1857 revolt. You understood Deccan riots? So revise it once. What is Deccan riots? This is the riots of the peasantry from the Deccan region of India. When it was started, when Deccan region experienced famine. Otherwise what happens? They'll grow and they'll pay. That is not an issue. When region experiences famine means they're not able to pay. Why? They'll not get their yields, crops fail. So after that they started to borrow more and more money from the money lenders, because money lenders they started to pay more because they used the situation. What is the idea behind this money lenders lending this loan, that too in a famine time, to grab the peasants' land? So by looking at these things, the committee was formed by the British government, and this committee gave a report that this is very difficult to 50% of the peasants they recovering from this debt trap. So let us do something for this, and they created one act for this. According to this act on 1879, they put cap on the percentage of they could put cap on the amount of they can borrow and they can lend loan, like money lenders lending loan, they put cap, and the individual patient they can borrow loan, they put cap. This is the inter-Deccan. While discussing Deccan famine, while discussing Deccan riots, you must discuss these things, right? They are getting 1857 revolt. So ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ನನಗೆ. 1857 revolt ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ? What is this?
Actually ಇದನ್ನ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ.
ಹಾ.
ಅದು ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಮುಂಚೆ ಅವರು ಏನೋ ಕೋಪ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹಾಳು ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ.
So from the beginning tell me, what is this 1857 revolt? This is the revolt by the Indians against Britishers or against the French, against the Portuguese or against
the Britishers.
Yaru?
India.
Indians against the Britishers. Okay. Here India versus England, right? India versus Britishers. Yes or no? This is the war which has happened in 1857. Because of that 1857 revolt or 1857 revolt. Yes or no?
Yes.
Then continue.
Started by Sipais.
That is not actually. That is the that time, or you can say immediate reason. That is not the proper. That is not only one reason. That is the immediate reason. There are hundreds of reasons. The hundreds of reason is what? ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಇಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಏನು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ವಾ? If the question was what is the reason behind 1857 revolt, ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಇಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದನ್ನ 100 words ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕು, right? See, that is the reason behind 1857 revolt. From 1600 when they entered India, the two ambassadors of the English they visited to the court of Jahangir too, till this 1857. What are the things happened? What are the initiatives which British took in India? Everything was the reason for the 1857 revolt. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲದನ್ನ 100 ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕಿಗೆ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಇಫ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್, ರೈಟ್? ಏನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ 1857 ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ?
ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾನ್ಷನ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ.
ಯಾವಾಗ ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ?
ಡಾಕ್ಟರಿನ್ ಆಫ್ ಲ್ಯಾಬ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ಅವರು ರಾಜ್ಯನ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು.
ಓಕೆ.
And Indian, what is this? Army ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್
ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಮಿನೇಷನ್ ವಿದಿನ್ ದಿ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್.
ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ವಾರಾದಾಗ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಕಳ್ಸೋರು,
ಹಾ,
ಬೇರೆ ದೂರ ದೂರ ನಡೆಯೋಂತ ಮಾತ್ರ.
ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರಿಸನರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ನ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಿದ್ರು, ರೈಟ್? ಇಫ್ ದ ವಾರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್, ಇಂಡೋ-ಬರ್ಮೀಸ್ ವಾರ್, ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಆಂಗ್ಲೋ-ಬರ್ಮೀಸ್ ವಾರ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಆಂಗ್ಲೋ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್, ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್, and some of the British soldiers they must give as a political prisoner. At that time, Indian soldiers they used to give instead of the British soldiers, right? Next.
ಗನ್ನಿಗೆ ಗನ್.
That is the immediate reason. There is a Royal Enfield gun. For that, they used to smear some fats for that, for easy that one. Again, religious things that came, like cow and pig fats. They used to smear on that. That is the immediate reason. Then Mangal Pandey, that is the immediate. Different. What are the other reasons? Like within court also there is a discrimination, right? Next. Conversion, that is the thing. Next. Religious factor. Then. So what is 1857 revolt? ಏನಿದೆ?
ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್.
ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಇದುವರೆಗೆ? ಹಾ, that incident we already discussed. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ? ನಾರ್ತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ. ವೈ ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ?
The region is not flat.
Okay. You know what? If you look at the Indian independence, if you look at Indian freedom movement, the three states, Maharashtra, West Bengal, today's Maharashtra, West Bengal, and today's Punjab, these three states that experience huge restrictions, or you can say that from these three states, British experienced huge threats, but not in the southern states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, but not in the rest of the states. Why not from Karnataka? At the time Karnataka was rich. Entire Karnataka was not a princely state. Some parts of Karnataka. What happened to rest of the Karnataka? Why we did not? What happens if it all princely state means? What made them to restrict from facing these Britishers?
Some of the soil was hit done.
What?
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಡ್ ಆಗಿರೋರು ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಆಗ ಅವರು ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ.
No, that is not the reason. See, Britishers, they are the bad fellows ಅಂತ everybody know, right? ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ something is happening to our country ಅಂತ. So why not the revolt which came from rest of the countries? Why not these three states? Rest of these states, why only from these three states? Why not from Karnataka? Okay, forget rest of the states. Why not from Karnataka? ನೀವು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ freedom struggle ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ very less. Like some parts, that is not actually freedom struggle. That is a reaction for their interference in their politics. That's it, right? ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಟ್ಟದ್ದು ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಲೋಕಲ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ that is just a reactionary. That is not a freedom struggle. Why? This is not like our Bengal. This is not like our Punjab. This is not like our Maharashtra. What is the reason?
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫರ್ಟೈಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಕ್ರಾಪ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ.
Why? Look, talk about Karnataka. Why we are not? ನಾವು ಯಾಕೆ ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ವಿರುದ್ಧ? Alur Venkatrao, he discussed about this, and he told, we don't know the glory of Karnataka. Okay, we don't know the glory of Karnataka. Even if you look at 1857 war also, our reactionary policies or our reactions was very less, being a Kannadiga, or we did not even involve in any of these national movements. Very less number of people they involved. So he and his friends, they sit together and they discuss what is the reason behind We did not know, or what is the reason behind the lack of patriotism in Karnataka? So they got an answer like in Maharashtra, in Bengal, in Punjab, they know the patriotism because they know the glory of that region. In Punjab, there was lot many books which glorifies the Punjab history at that time, not today's modern Indian history. Punjab history means ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಏನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ. In Bengal, there are lot. Bengal is a laureates land, scholars lands. So they wrote lot many books regarding the Bengal glory. So those who read those stories, they will not tolerate this situation. So they revolted Britishers. In Bombay Presidency, also in Maharashtra region, we know the story of the glory of the then Maharashtra. So in Karnataka, there are no books, there are no information that the Karnataka once upon a time was its peak. Once upon a time, it had its glory. Because of that, we are not witnessing the changes by Britishers this brought. We are not experiencing the changes these Britishers brought. Because of that, we are not revolting. This is the conclusion of Alur Venkat Rao. So he wrote a book called Karnataka Gatha Vaibhava that glorified the history of Karnataka. In that book, Karnataka Gatha Vaibhava, he glorified the history. What is the reason behind this book? To glorify Karnataka. What is the reason to glorify? What is the need which arises to glorify Karnataka? To feel the patriotism. How? See, look at the glory back and look at the situation now. See, who was the reason? British was the reason. Just revolt against them. This is the patriotic feelings he started to imbibe in the youth minds of this Karnataka. And then Karnataka, they slowly started to involve in some of the national movements. Before, why in prelims or not in prelims, in interview or in some other discussions which you involve in some open society, why there is no resistance from Karnataka or Kannada land or Kannadigas? Your answer should be this, like, we don't know our own glory, so we did not experience the changes. And they experienced changes very well. If you look at Bengal, if you look at Punjab, if you look at Bombay Presidency, they experienced the changes after the British entry. We did not, because we don't know our own history at that time, right? So after this Karnataka Gatha Vaibhava, we again started to know our own the glory, our own the history, rich history, right? This is the thing. So say something about 1857 revolt. Who was the Governor General when revolt was happened? This is old UPSC prelims question. No. Harman is way back. ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡಿ ಬೇರೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಲೈಕ್ ಸೇ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ 1857 revolt.
So this Indian armies were sent out of the country to serve. That was the
Okay.
war or late?
That is later. In First World War, they requested in First World War they made Indian soldiers to part of the First World War. Britishers they made without even informing in the first, even in the Second World War also. Without informing, they made Indian army as a part of the England army in the World War. Okay, that is the world politics that we will discuss in our future classes. So, what is this 1857 revolt? The revolt which was happened in 1857. That's why the name 1857 revolt. First thing. And what is revolt? First of all, revolt means what? Revolt andre movement andre fight agಬೇಕಾ?
ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಮ್ಮೆ
Revolting against
ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗ್ರಾಜುಯಲ್
some particular events ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ revolt ಮಾಡೋದು.
Okay. So 1857 revolt, is this pre-decided or
Pre-decided.
sudden?
pre-decided.
Pre-decided. Okay. Is it went as which was decided initially?
No.
No. They made some changes. What is the reason behind the changes? And is this any single center for this revolt, or it is a vast movement, countrywide movement?
Countrywide ಇದೆ, but
Some parts of
some
India.
parts of
Some
Lack
parts
of
of India.
unity ನು ಇದ್ದು,
Lack of unity, that is the one thing, okay, in between the leaders. And who are the leaders for this revolt?
Nana Sahib.
Who are the leaders? That means the princes or the leaders from the British Indian.
Jhansi Rani.
No. They are the princes. That is one. Princes, only princes, are the leaders from the civil society like British India, like politicians. Politician plus princely states or only politician or only princely states. Politician means you know, right? British India's leaders. Indian leaders. British Indian territories, Indian leader. Right? So only these fellows are princely states. They also join. Both. Okay. Next.
Information ನೀಟಾಗಿ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್
Information
ನೀಟಾಗಿ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಓಕೆ ಇಂಥ ದಿನ ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ.
ಅವ್ರು
Okay.
ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆನೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್.
ಓಕೆ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು?
Mangal Pandey.
ಮಂಗಲ್ ಪಾಂಡೆ ಇಶ್ಯೂ.
ಎರಡು ಮಿಲಿಟರಿ ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ನ
Okay. Okay. That is not actually. There is another reason. Next. That is immediate reason, but the preponing was date which was they did before this Mangal Pandey incident. They preponed by themselves because they came to know that another English army that is going to add upon this English army, which is in 1:5 that composition and all. That I will come to later. Come to that. Next. Anything? ಬೇರೆ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ ನಿಮಗೆ 1857 ವಾರ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ಇನ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾನೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅದು ಮಾತ್ರ ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂರುತ್ತೆ.
ಈಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಇದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಈಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಕಂಪನಿ ಆಡಳಿತ ಇದ್ದು
ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ 1858 ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಕಂಪನಿ ಡೈಲ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ಶಿ ಬಿಕಮ್ ದ ಕ್ವೀನ್. ಶಿ ಹರ್ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ದಿ
Queen of the
Like she
Emperor of India. Queen become the Emperor of India, right? So at that time, India truly become a colony of England. So after that, good governance started, and she gave promises like we will not acquire further, we will not make any other territory as a territory of the British. So let us be friendly. This is a kind of conclusion they came with the Indian leaders. Next. Anything? Chalo, let us start. 1857. Governor General Canning, C-A-N-N-I-N-G, Canning, underline with double inverted comma, put a star mark. This is very, very, very important. Governor General Canning. For him, see, first let us discuss what is this and different school of thought regarding this revolt. For him, it was a revolution indeed. ವಾಸ್ತವವಾಗಿ ಇದು ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. For Colonel Malleson, it was after all a dissatisfied Muslim Sipahi rebellion. Why he came to that kind of conclusion? In 1857, there was not many revolts. In that revolt, listen. Why he came to that kind of conclusion? Dissatisfied Muslim revolt. Because 1857 revolt is not just a single revolt that was happening in different area for different reasons. He concentrated on the region where the dissatisfied Muslim they revolted against the Hindu landlords. So by looking at that region only, he just painted entire revolt as these things. Right? So this is not proper. For Disraeli, another person, Disraeli. He was an opposition leader in the Parliament of UK at that time. Disraeli. This is a clash between two cultures. Yes sir, no?
Yes, sir.
What are the two cultures here?
Indian culture
English and
and
English.
Next. For V.D. Savarkar, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. What according to him this is?
First war of
Security.
First war of India's independence. And this is most debatable one. Most of the school of thoughts, they will not go with this. And he faced a lot of criticism because of this. Because there were hundreds of wars before this. This is not a first for India's independence. So, in exam, you should not conclude this as a first war of independence. You should give option to your invigilator. Okay, these are the things which have happened, and according to V.D. Savarkar, this is the first war of Indian independence. And what according to you, at the end of your answer, you only came to know. So, what is this? Is this the first war of India's independence, or what is this actually? So, let us go one by one. What is the reason for this revolt? Take heading. So, from the beginning, ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಯಿತು? ಯಾಕೆ revolt start ಆಯಿತು?
first revenue system.
Like they hit our economy, right? So that is the thing. Next, economic reason. Next,
Then administration and political reason.
okay, ನೀವು just syllabus ಏನು subject ಹೆಸರು ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ
ಮತ್ತೆ acquiring policy of Britishers.
okay,
Interference in the revenue policy
Okay.
and expansion, land capturing.
okay. The most important reason initially why the difference started between the Indians and the Britishers initially because of their new revenue policies. Start something. The most important factor was economic distress, underlying economic distress. With the revenue policies of the English. With the revenue policies of the English. Economic distress with the revenue policies of the English. Zamindars lost their zamindaris. Peasantry become coolies. Yes or no? Now, ಇದುವರೆಗೆ ಕಲ್ತಿರೋದನ್ನ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರೆಯೋದು. Right? Zamindars, they lost zamindari. Peasantry become coolie. Tax system was highly regressive. Regressive tax was always bad for the society, any kind of economy. Highly regressive. On the other hand, some of the commercial legislation and commercial policies of the English, the tax system was highly regressive, and some of the commercial policies of the English that was responsible for the destroying, or you can say strategically destroying the native industries. So in one para we completed all the things which we discussed in three revenue policies.
British? I don't know.
Understood. Don't go with the words. In one para we completed all the, I guess we completed entire one class, right? First what we discussed here now.
Economics.
Like because of their revenue policies, zamindars lost their zamindari, that 54% defaulters, and peasants become coolies. Why we know? Because instead of cultivating, they remained as a agri laborers, right? So after that, we discussed that in our initial class we discussed that strategic deindustrialization. That is the last line. Because of their commercial policy, systematically the India's industries was destroyed the native industries, right? So because of these things for Indians, the survival itself become difficult, right? The survival turned to difficult. So tremendous unrest started in the Indian society. Tremendous unrest started in Indian society.
Tremendous?
Unrest. Tremendous unrest that was prevailed in Indian society. This was while the majority section participated in the revolt war. The majority sections participated in the revolt war zamindars, the rural peasantry, the unemployed youth, and the coolies. See, ಈಗ ನಾವು ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ವಿ. The participants of the revolt. Why these people participated? Because of the above reasons. Right? The zamindars, the rural peasantry, the unemployed youth, and the coolies. So, because of this section of the society, they revolted against the British in 1857. So, what is the reason this section of the society they revolted against the Britishers? The above reasons. Right? So, because of these reasons, the rural peasantry, zamindars, the agri laborers, the unemployed youth, coolies, they revolted against the Britishers. One thing. Next, what is the political factor?
ಅದು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿಯಿಂದ ಅಕ್ವೈರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನು.
That's it. What are the different policies they followed? Your answer must include those things. Take heading the political factor. Your answer must start from where? Warren Hastings ring fencing policy. Allinda start agಬೇಕು because we're discussing Anglo Mysore. We discussed that. Alright? Start. The very way that Britishers expanded their territory, the very way, W-A-Y, why? The very way is the way in which the Britishers expanded their territory. It was kind of without any values, without any ethics, without any principle, and without any keeping the promises. Or they did not keep promises which they promised earlier. Now, by saying this, we are moving towards ring fencing. Right? The Lord Warren Hastings, see, he given flow ಇರಬೇಕು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ರೈಟ್? ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಡಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿನ್ ಆಫ್ ಲ್ಯಾಬ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಏನು ಈ ಎಥಿಕ್ಸ್, ಕೀಪಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸಸ್, ಈ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಮೂವಿಂಗ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಲಾರ್ಡ್ ವಾರನ್ ಹೇಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ring fencing. So ಅದಕ್ಕೆ they did not keep promises, they are not famous in keeping the promises, ಈ ತರ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು because we are moving towards Hastings ring fencing. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
This is the art of answer writing. So Warren Hastings, with his ring fencing policy against Mysore, that is, in the course of time occupied not only Mysore but also the friendly states of the French to the British. ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬಿಟ್ವಿ? ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ? First in then. The Warren Hastings, his ring fencing policy against the Mysore, in the course of time they occupied not only Mysore but also other friendly states of the Britishers like Marathas, like Travancore, like Hyderabad. You know the story, right? Right. And which is the first autonomous state, one which signed subsidiary alliance with the British? Hyderabad. Right, that. Right. The Nawab of Hyderabad was the first to sign subsidiary alliance system of Lord Wellesley. So, what is this? Why we are introducing that subsidiary alliance here? Because that made them as the owners, right? See, that made Indian independent kingdom or Indian independent princes as the puppet of their English hand. Our, art of Bombay because of this subsidiary alliance, right? So this subsidiary alliance, which was signed for the first time by this Nawab of Hyderabad. So because of this, ನೀವು ಈಗ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಗೆ. What is the question? The reason behind the revolt. ನೀವೀಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಗೆ? This was virtually made. This signing the subsidiary alliance, this was virtually made. Puppet, the Indian princess as a puppet in the hands of the English. Puppet means Gombe, idu kai Gombe, in the hands of the English. So this is art of answer writing. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Next. So it was the conspiracy. It was the conspiracy that prevailed in the Battle of Plassey of 1757. It was the conspiracy of English that made them that made them to own the Battle of Plassey in 1757. They killed Nawab Siraj, and afterwards they looted Bengal. At that time, Bengal was one of the richest province in India. Bengal was one of the richest province of the Mughal India. This is the thing. So we discussed Dalhousie's doctrine of lapse also, right? Come, you know doctrine of lapse or not? Then what no? So add that in this answer. Like that is also reason behind the 1857 revolt. How you will add? No. Start from Lord Dalhousie.
The Dalhousie introduced the
That's it. Lord Dalhousie start. Introduced the doctrine of lapse. According to it, what according to it? Any adoption of any princess in India, that is, if not legitimate, adoption means that is not legitimate, son. Any adoption by any prince of the India, any adoption by any prince of India must go with the consent of the English only. Must go with the consent of the English. If English disagreed for that adoption, under doctrine, they are going to lose the princely state to the Britishers' hand. Okay. So Dalhousie, he categorized the princely state into three kinds under this. Dalhousie, he categorized the princely state into three categories under this. The first one, it's like our union territory. The states under the direct control of the English, direct control. The states under the direct control of the English. It's like our union territory, right? Union territory is direct control under the central government. And second one, the states created and under the protection of the English. Created and under the protection of the English. This is actually subsidiary alliance. This is ruling by different fellow, but this was under the control of the English, subsidiary alliance. And the third one was the states which are under the princely states. The independent princely states. So you can say this is, you can relate this to today's union territory, right? This to today's state. So what is this? Created to independent, but it was maintained by under the control of the central government. So what is this? You can say it is a hilly states like northeastern states and Himalayan foothill states. Alligala government schemes alli idನ್ನ ನಾನು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ, centrally sponsored and central sector schemes. What is centrally sponsored scheme? What is I discussed this. Central sector schemes means the schemes which was introduced by the central government, so 100% funding done by the central government. Centrally sponsored schemes means the schemes which was sponsored by the central government. That means sometimes 50% for the states in terms of cash, 50% for the states, and sometimes 90% for the union territories. If the scheme costs 1 crore means 90 lakhs from the central government in the union territory. For the states, Karnataka is going to get only 50 lakhs because another 50 lakhs has to filled by the state governments. For northeastern states and the hilly states, again 80 to 90% by the central government because that is poor states. So you can relate this subsidiary states to today's northeastern and hilly states. Sumne and compare it. Don't take it as very serious. Sumne and compare it. So who categorized the Indian states into three? So what are the three kinds of states according to him?
States under direct control created under protection of British.
So my question is, this Dalhousie, in his policy of doctrine of lapse, he introduced this theory in which one of the following? Or do he introduce it for both or any two? What? No. He was not discriminatory in this note. He implemented this in both the categories. Right. However, he extended his policy to all three categories indiscriminately. This may be a prelims question. Like the states which have signed a subsidiary alliance, this is the only state which can come under the doctrine of lapse. This may be a UPSC prelim statement. That is wrong. State which signed under subsidiary alliance, which come under subsidiary alliance, that is only applicable for the doctrine of lapse. If that was the statement, that is wrong. Any principal states of India which fits for the doctrine of principles, that come under the doctrine of principles, that is right, because all three categories. Or the states which directly come under the British, that anyhow you are going to know. If the states which directly come under the British control, if they lost or if they come under the policy of the doctrine of lapse, they can implement it. Come under the policy means what? There were one existing king and he died without any successors. So his queen, if she adopts some other fellow as his successors, that is not legal one. That is the policy of the doctrine of lapse. If that was the case in the states which is directly under the control of the Britishers also, that is right. So whatever they will give out of these three, that is right only. If the answer is no, that is wrong. If the statement is no, that is wrong. Hope you are getting. ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಹೇಳಿ?
ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಬರುದಿಲ್ಲ ನೋ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಬಂದ್ರೆ
ಲೈಕ್ ಒಂದು ಹೇಳಿ, ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೇಳಿ, ರಾಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿನ್ ಆಫ್ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಸ್. ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್.
ಓನ್ಲಿ
the states when we sign subsidiary alliance come under the doctrine of lapse. If that was the statement, that is no. Next, he occupied with this policy Satara for the first time, next Jaitpur, next Sambalpur and hill states of Bhagat, Udaipur, Jhansi. Where Jhansi located? Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai, Uttar Pradesh, right? Nagpur, Jaipur, Jaitpur, not Jaipur, Jaitpur. Jaitpur, Sambalpur, hill states of Bhagat, Udaipur, Jhansi, Nagpur. And he abolished the royal titles. And he refused to accept the abolished royal titles, and he refused to accept the adoption of Nana Sahib by the last Peshwa Baji Rao the First. Adoption of Nana Sahib by the last Peshwa Baji Rao the First, and refused to pay pension for this Nana Sahib. The adoption of Nana Sahib by the last Peshwa Bajirao I, and he refused to pay the pension on the grounds of maladministration. While discussing Maratha, we discussed this. In 1856, he suspended Nawab Wazid Ali Shah of Ayodhya. So these are all facts for value addition. He suspended. These are all there in your notes, but ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲೋ ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ. In 1856, he suspended Nawab Wazid Ali Shah of Ayodhya. Wazid Ali Shah of Ayodhya and occupied it. And he declared that Red Fort belongs to English. Who constructed Red Fort? Mughals, right? So after the death of the last Mughal, the Bahadur Shah, English declared that Red Fort belongs to us. Look at this. The Lord Dalhousie's successor, the Lord Canning, right? The Lord Canning, the successor of the Dalhousie, he further declared that the Mughal princes should not use royal titles like Zinda Ilahi and all. At the time, the later Mughal, they used to hold the royal titles like Zinda Ilahi and all. So Lord Canning, he banned from holding these titles. So the same colonial ideology which was there in Article 18, right? Barring from all titles. After the death of Bahadur Shah, he banned his successors holding the titles. Right? What kind of titles they used to hold at the time? Zinda Ilahi. These are the political factors. Say something social factor. Social factors. So, the parliament opposition leader of the UK, according to him, he noted this as a clash between the two culture. So culture is social something. So take it in social factor. Let us discuss on that note. As so, I want you to think: is really social class? Is this really social class? Social clash or culture clash? Really?
No.
Why no? Why no?
Because the political factors are
Okay. On that note, any other no? According to me, this is not a culture clash. For some part, it is okay, but not entirely culture clash. Because if you look at the entire 1857 revolt, very small region of India, Indians faced the Britishers. But rest of the regions, Indians faced the faces of the Britishers. And these faces of the Britishers are not foreigners, they are the Indians. The zamindars, the landlords, sometimes the British soldiers, they are the Indians. When the British soldier, being Indian, he is fighting against the Indian own countrymen, how it would become culture clash? According to me, this is not entirely culture clash. It's a school of thought, nothing but I want these things in your answer. So, any other points regarding social factor? ಅಥವಾ ಇದು ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಹೇಳಿ. Think. This kind of thinking made you only IAS.
ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು ಒಂದೊಂದು ಕಡೆ.
Exactly. Entire India is not one culture. India is a melting pot of all different culture. India is a diverse country. How you can say this is a culture clash? If that was the case, there must be day-to-day clashes in India, because there are a lot of cultures within India, and this is not true actually. How it will become? That is one culture. Like that, we have hundreds of culture within India. Right? Next. And India is good at respecting each other. From its tradition itself, our culture itself, we want to know what is there in other culture. We will not come against other culture. By its tradition, India always go in a peace mode. We want to know what is there in other culture instead of revolting against. So it is not actually culture, clash of culture fully. Or this is not 100% culture clash. For some extent it is true. Because they are the liberals, we are the conservatives. So when liberals and conservatives meet each other, these conservatives, they will not listen to these liberals. And they will blame the liberals for everything which has happened further. Or everything which is wrong happens. Whenever one liberal and one conservative meet each other, what are the wrong things which will happen after meeting them? For all wrong things, this liberal, he should blame, or he should took the blame in front of these conservatives, because these conservatives, they constantly blame these liberals for the wrong thing which will happen in future. Hope you get it.
Yes.
Now, next. So in that note, this is a culture clash. Next. So ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ಬರೀತಾರೆ. ನೀವು ನೋ ದಿಸ್ ಅಪಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಎಸ್ ಎ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್ ಬಟ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಂತ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಐ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಯು. ರೈಟ್. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್. In social sphere, it appears to be a clash between two culture. In social sphere, it appears to be a clash between two culture. Because the rulers were the English and they were the liberals and progressive, whereas on the ruled one are the common public were the Indians, they are the conservative sections, they are the traditionals. The rulers, they are the progressive, they are the liberals, they are the English, and the common public, they are the Indians, they are the traditionals, they are the conservatives. But actually, this is not a culture clash on its own. Underline this word, on its own. It is not a culture clash and the full stop actually, that is wrong answer. On its own, entirely Allah. This is not a culture clash as a whole, but because, instead of but, take because. The most of the clashes happened in this phase was Indians versus Indians.
In this
Phase was Indians versus Indians. So when this was the case, how can somebody conclude this as a culture clash? Right? When this was the case, how can somebody see ನೀವು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಹೀಗೆ ಬರೀಬಹುದು. How can somebody consider culture clash ಅಂತ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಬಹುದು. You know what? While discussing answer writing technique and all, I'll come to this. Your subheading should be question mark. Question. ನೀವು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀತೀರಿ 50 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀತೀರಿ 250 ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು 2-3 ಸಬ್ ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಸಬ್ ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ದ ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ 2-3 ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ದಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಆನ್ ಅ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಇನ್ ದೀಸ್ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟರಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್. ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಒಂದೊಂದು ತರ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟರಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ನೀವು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು, ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು, ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್. ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ನೀವೇ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ನೀವೇ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೋದು. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ವೇ ಆಫ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟರಿ. ಈಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್ ಅಂತ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ನೋ ಅಂತ ಮುಂದೆ ಬಂದು ಕಮ ಹಾಕಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀ. ವೈ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ? ಇಟ್ ಲುಕ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್. ಎಸ್, ರೈಟ್. ಹೀಗೆ ಹಾಕಿ ಡಾಟ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೌ, ಇದರ ಮುಂದೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಈಗ ನೀವು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಕಡೆಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಬರೀಬೇಕಂತ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ರೈಟ್? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಅವರ್ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟರಿ. ಸೊ ಏನ್ ಬರೆದ್ರಿ?
when this was
Concluded, right? That part was concluded. Next, a section of British officers They believed in the theory of white man's burden. You know, this is a wonderful school of thought in English. White man's burden. It looks like funny, okay? White man burden. You know this? What is this? You know what is this? White man burden. Some part in ನಾನು ಇದನ್ನು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಏನು? See, first listen this. Word by word ಬರೆದನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡಿ. Concept ಅನ್ನು catch ಮಾಡಿ. See, white man burden ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇತ್ತು ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. You know what? Our God, they sent here to convert you from uncivilized to civilized. While discussing tribe, I told you. And this was the duty of us, nam kartavya, to convert you to a civilized person. So this is a burden on us, on white man. Okay, we are the progressive legislators and you are the unprogressive traditional folks. So we are here to progress you from the conservative to liberal one. So this is a burden on us. This is the attitude of the British. Right? White man burden. Adane barte. A section of British official believed in the white man burden. This may be your interview question. What is white man burden? Okay. And made sincere attempt to transform India. They made sincere attempt to transform India. And they started progressive legislation and all. See, for some extent I accept this. Because at that time, look at the social evils, sati, untouchability, these are the things. And that is not progressive things, that is not liberal things. And India need them to enter. Right? To ban these social evils. Otherwise, we Indians, we never ever ban this. Because of the British entry, we banned this in discrimination called untouchability and sati and all. So this white man burden, for some extent, true according to me. Yes or no? Write that. ಹೇಗೆ ನಾ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದನ್ನು ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಹೇಗೆ ಬರೀತೀರಾ? ವಿತ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ರೈಟ್. ಇನ್ 1802 ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಬರೆದ್ರ ದೇ ಟುಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದೇ ಸಿನ್ಸಿಯರ್ಲಿ started to implement the progressive legislation. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಬರೆದ್ರಲ್ವಾ? In 1802 the Governor General Wellesley, who banned female infanticide in India. What is female infanticide? ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಭ್ರೂಣ ಹತ್ಯೆ. Female infanticide. Infant means ಮಗು, ಭ್ರೂಣ. Female infanticide means ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಭ್ರೂಣ ಹತ್ಯೆ. So you know what? ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮದುವೆಗೆ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಥರದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಸಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ state governments in its election manifesto, some of the political parties in some state government in its manifesto, that to Haryana state government this year, Haryana and Punjab, in its some political parties in its manifesto itself, they gave a promise that if our government come to power, we will provide you bride from other countries, other states, not countries, other states. ನಾವು ನಿಮಗೆ ಹುಡುಗಿಯನ್ನು ಹುಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಮದುವೆಗೆ ಅಂತ ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋ. ಎಸ್, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರೂ ಇನ್ ಪಂಜಾಬ್ ಆರ್ ಹರಿಯಾಣ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಹರಿಯಾಣ ಇಸ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಇದು ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ, ವುಮೆನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ, ಫಿಮೇಲ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಂಟಿಸೈಡ್ ಒಂದು ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದು ವೈ ಅಗ್ರಿ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಗ್ರಿ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲೀಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಗ್ರಿ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್. I'll repeat. Why agri dependent states, agri dependent family and agri dependent districts of some states, they in that region only we will find the scarcity of the women for marriage.
Because they more depend on the men, because in future they will help them to
Exactly, this kind of attitude, like ಮಗ ಇರಬೇಕು, ನಮ್ಮ ಜಮೀನು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಮಗ ಇರಬೇಕು. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಿಸ್ಟ್. ನನ್ನ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ನ ಮಗ ಲೀಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಮಗಳಾದ್ರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಮನೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ನನ್ನ ಆಸ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಒಡೆಯ ಆಗಕ್ಕೆ ಮಗನೇ ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ನನ್ನ ಪುಣ್ಯ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಥಿ ಎಂಡ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಗನೇ ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಮೇಲ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಆಟಿಟ್ಯೂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ದಟ್ ಮೇಡ್ ದೆಮ್ ಟು ಕಂಡಕ್ಟ್ ದಿಸ್ female infanticides and all. That motivated them to do this female infanticide. ಅವರು if you look at Haryana in its history, ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಂಟಿಸೈಡ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಹರಿಯಾಣ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹರಿಯಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ. You know what? In if you look at Karnataka also, the agri dependent districts like Mandya, the agri dependent districts like Tumkuru and this one Mysore, not Mysore, Mandya, Tumkur, and some 2-3 states of that. There, the female number, the female ratio is very less. The reason, agri dependent, the landlords of that time. So they focused on male child. Male child ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ, and it is accidental, you know, right? X and Y, ಅದು ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಗಂಡ ಆಗೋದು ಹೇಗೆ, ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಆಗೋದು ಹೇಗೆ, and father was the reason. X chromosome, Y chromosomes, female only produce X chromosomes, and male can produce X and Y. When this Y chromosomes enters into the egg of woman enters, if this X chromosomes enters, that will become a female. If this Y chromosomes enters first, that will become a male. This is the thing. So this is accidental. So at that time the scanning ಎಲ್ಲ ಇತ್ತು, and scanning ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ if they found that as a female, ಅದನ್ನ ಅಬಾರ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಈ ಅಬಾರ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಅಗ್ರಿ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಇದೆ ಮದುವೆಗೆ ಈಗ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ infanticide was banned by these Britishers. So according to me, yes, this is white man's burden only. We are the illogic fellows. We are the traditional fools. We followed some of the social events, and they came here and they made us to think in a liberal note, right? So according to me, for some extent they are true. In 1802, Governor General Wellesley, he banned female infanticide. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೈಮ್ ಹಿಂದೆ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ನಡೆದಿತ್ತು. ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಜಾಥಾ ಹೋಗೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮಂಡ್ಯ ಆಚೆ ಸೈಡ್ ಇಂದ ಮದುವೆಗೆ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಇನಿಷಿಯೇಟಿವ್ ತಗೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವತ್ತು ಪೇಪರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು. ಅವತ್ತು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಈ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಲಾರ್ಡ್ಶಿಪ್ ಮೆಂಟಾಲಿಟಿ, ಈ ಜಮೀನ್ದಾರಿ ಮೆಂಟಾಲಿಟಿ, ಇದರಿಂದನೇ ಈ ತರ ಆಗಿರೋದು ಅಂತ. ಅಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೂಫ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅಗ್ರಿ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಗ್ರೀನ್ ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು? ಪಂಜಾಬ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಹರಿಯಾಣ. ಗ್ರೀನ್ ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅವತ್ತಿಂದನೇ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಂಟಿಸೈಡ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯ್ತು, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಹರಿಯಾಣ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪಂಜಾಬ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ರೇಟ್ ವೆರಿ ಲೆಸ್ ಇದೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, Wellesley banned female infanticide under Regulation 6. Female infanticide. Infant na ಹತ್ಯೆ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಭ್ರೂಣ ಹತ್ಯೆ. In 1829, next, see why it is they considered a burden. I am giving the proof. In 1829, on the request of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Governor General William Bentinck, he abolished what? Sati. With the Regulation 17. See, this 417 alli hege baribeki, 617, 6 like this Roman letter. 17 hege, right? Regulation 17. He brought Regulation 17, Bentinck, and he abolished the customs. Next one. On the request of Ram Mohan Rai, the progressive education entered India. Who introduced English education in India? T.B. Macaulay, right? With the progressive request of Ram Mohan Rai, starting in the request of Ram Mohan Rai, the progressive legislation or progressive education entered India. With T.B. Macaulay introduced English education by a legislation called Macaulay Minute of 1835. Who banned widow remarriage in India? Which Governor General? This is also very important.
Widow remarriage.
So yes, widow remarriage. I mean, who started? Like banning widow remarriage was a social evil. And Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he worked upon that, and he collected the data like how many widows are there in India and all. like in his region, not in India, and he submitted that report to government at that time. At that time, Dalhousie was the Governor General, and same person who know reason behind the doctrine of lapse, and he was the reason behind this banning the social evil called banning the widow remarriage. He was the reason behind banning the social evil called banning the widow remarriage.
Means he promoted widow remarriage.
Or you can say he introduced widow remarriage. Direct. ವಿಧವ ಮರು ವಿವಾಹವನ್ನು ಪ್ರೋತ್ಸಾಹಿಸಿದರು. ಮೊದಲು ಭಾರತೀಯರು ಅದನ್ನು ನಿಷೇಧಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದರು. ನಿಷೇಧಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದ ವಿಧವ ಮರು ವಿವಾಹವನ್ನು ಗವರ್ನರ್ ಜನರಲ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ? ಗವರ್ನರ್ ಜನರಲ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹುಡುಕ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ನಾವು, ಹೆಸರೇ ಪಡ್ಲಿ. ಗವರ್ನರ್ ಜನರಲ್ ಡಾಲ್ಹೌಸಿ ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನ ಈಶ್ವರ್ ಚಂದ್ರ ವಿದ್ಯಾಸಾಗರರ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿನ ಮೇರೆಗೆ, ಯಾವುದು ವಿನಂತಿಯ ಮೇರೆಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದರು, ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿದರು, ರದ್ದುಪಡಿಸಿದರು. ಕನ್ನಡ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಸುಲಭ, ಬಟ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀದು ಭಾರಿ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀದು ಕೆಲವರು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ UPSC ಬರೀತೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್. ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ತುಂಬಾ ಸುಲಭ, ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಮಾತಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಸುಲಭ, ಬಟ್ ಬರೆಯೋದು ಭಾರಿ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆಯೋದು ಸುಲಭ. ಈ ದಾರಿಂದೋಲ ನೀವು 2 years 3 years ಓದ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂತಾದ್ರೂ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ರೆ ಎಂತಾದ್ರೂ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀತಾರೆ, ನೀವು ಬೇರೆ ಏನೋ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೆದಿರ್ತೀರ. ಓಕೆ, ಅದು ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಕೈ. 1 2 year 3 year ದಾಯಿಂದ ಓದಿದಾಗ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆಯೋದು ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ, ವರ್ಡ್ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ. ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಇದನ್ನೇ ಹೇಳೋಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತು ನಮಗೆ.
ನಾವು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷಲ್ಲೇ ಓದ್ತಾ
ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬಟ್ ಈಗ ಹೇಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಓದ್ತೀರಿ? ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ, ನೀವು ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀರ, ಅದು ಮಾಡಿ. ನೀವು ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಮುಗಿಸಿರ್ತೀರ, PUC ಇಂದ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್, ಇವನ್ ಹೈಸ್ಕೂಲಿಂದ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿಯಿಂದ ಡಿಗ್ರಿವರೆಗೆ ನಿಮ್ದು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಓದಿ ಹೇಗೆ ನೀವು?
ನಮ್ಗೆ ಈಗ ನಾವೆಲ್ ಓದೋದಾಗಿರ್ಲಿ, ಈಗ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಓದಿದ್ರೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಸರ್.
ನಾವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರಲ್ಲ?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್,
ಬರುತ್ತೆ.
ನಾವು ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇವೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ತುಂಬಾ ಹಳೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಸ್ ಹಾಗೆ ಓದಿದ್ರೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ.
ಇರ್ಬೋದು.
ಮೇನ್
ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲೈಸೇಷನ್, ನನಗೆ PSC ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಬರೆಯುವಾಗ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ವರ್ಡೇ ಸಿಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಹಂಗೆ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ, ಜಾಗತೀಕರಣ, ಅದು ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ. ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಡಿಸಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅವತ್ತು. ರೈಟ್, ಹೀಗೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಈಗ ಇದನ್ನ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ವೈಟ್ಸ್ಮನ್ ಬರ್ಡನ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಹೌ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್? However, this is a progressive legislation, but our conservative section of the Indians, they did not want this and they disagreed for this. However, this is a progressive legislation. This act was progressive for India's progress. This act was made of the hour for India's progress. This is the progressive legislation. Then also the conservative section of the Indians, they thought this is unwanted interference in the internal affairs of India, including Gandhi.
section of progress.
They thought this is unwanted interference in the internal affairs. I told including Gandhi. Don't write that. Because I was discussing Gandhi, again I'll come to this. Gandhiji was not happy of interdining. Gandhiji was not happy of the intercaste marriage. Gandhiji was not happy of the interreligion marriage. Gandhiji was not happy of something which is not religiously correct, something which is not socialistic correct. That is the hit back. That is not arranged one. Okay, so this is it. And he had his own reason for that. Society should change gradually, but not sudden. Society should change from the bottom, but not the force. Society should change by changing the minds, but not the bringing the laws. That is true. He was a practical person. The rest of the fellows, their names say practical, but not practical. He was the practical, according to me. Because in 2023 also, what he told at that time, that was true. Society will not change. ಆಯ್ತು ಇವತ್ತಿಂದ ಇಂಟರ್ಕ್ಯಾಸ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲ ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಷನ್ ತಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಲಿಸನ್, ರೈಟ್? ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಗಾಂಧೀಜಿ, ಬಿ ದ ಚೇಂಜ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಸಿ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ. ನಮ್ಮಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಟ್ರೂ. Looks like he was a bad fellow, but he was a practical fellow. That's why he became a great man in Indian politics. Right? This is the entire social factor. Next, religious factor. This is the sudden factor for 1857 revolt. And again, there is hundreds of history behind. But one of the incident regarding the religious factor, that was the sudden factor behind this revolt.
Religious.
Religious. Say something religious factor.
Christian missionaries.
That Christian and Hinduism, that is the clash. Then ನೀವು ಹಾಗೆ ಹೇಳಕ್ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂದೂ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರು ಅವರೇ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಹಿಂದೂ ಸಿಖ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರು ಅವರೇ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್, ಹಿಂದೂ ಬುದ್ಧಿಸ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ರು ಅವರೇ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಹಿಂದೂ ಜೈನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಕನ್ವರ್ಷನ್ ಹಿಂದೂ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು.
ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಹಿಂದೂಗಳನ್ನು ಹಿಂದೂ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್
ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಹಾ, ಬೇರೆ?
ಬಟ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಸೊಸೈಟಿದು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು.
Okay. You know what? They used to get revenue for the conversion, not only now, but from then. That is one of the reason. Next. That is the immediate reason. Next. What are the religious factor which are responsible for this 1857 revolt?
ಸರ್ ನನ್ನದು ಮನಿ ಲೆಂಡರ್ಸ್ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇದರಿಂದ
Community ಇಂದ? No. For money there is no religion.
ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್,
Okay.
ಅವರು ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
Okay. Next.
ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಮಿನೇಷನ್.
Yeah. Okay. Next. Right. Again, and here also I have some my own thoughts. This appears to be right. The clash appears to be between religion of the rulers Christianity and the ruled one Hinduism. Muslim.
ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯನ್.
Back for Vika. Where are you?
ಸರ್
ಹೌದು.
ರೋಲ್ಡ್ ಹಿಂದೂಸ್ ಬಟ್ ರೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
But in majority.
ಇನ್ ಮೆಜಾರಿಟಿ
Missionaries got the financial assistance in the form of grants and aids from the revenue of India itself. Revenue for their activities in the name of grants in act. Revenue or financial assistance for their activities in the form of grants in aids. Grants in aids from revenue of India. In another words, underline this. Indian revenues were used for preaching and promoting Christianity against Hinduism in India. Indian revenues were used for preaching and promoting Christianity against Hinduism in India. Home charge, part of home charge. How many of you connected this? Part of home charge. There for the administrative purpose, here for the conversion purpose. Using ನದಿಯ ನೀರನ್ನು ನದಿಗೆ ಚೆಲ್ಲಿ. Same. ನದಿಗೆ ಚೆಲ್ಲೋದ್ರಾಗಲ್ವಾ ನದಿ ನೀರನ್ನ? ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಕೂಡ್ಸತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಹರಿಯತ್ತೆ. ಫ್ಲೋ ಇದೆ. ನಂಗೆ ಇದೊಂದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದೆ, ನಂಗೆ ಕೆಲವು ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಇದು ಅದು ಏನೇನೋ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ, ನಂಗೆ ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ಥರ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಂ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇದೊಂದಿದೆ, ನಾನು ಬರೆಯಕ್ಕೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ದಾಯಿಂದಲಿರೋ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನನಗೆ. ಓಕೆ, ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡೋಕೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಆ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ತಲೆಗೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಬರೆಯೋದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ಲೋ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ತಲೆಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್. ನನಗೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾದ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಫಿಟ್ ಆಗೋ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ನನಗೆ, ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಸಿಗೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ. ಅದೊಂದು ತುಂಬ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಆ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ನೆನಪಿಗೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಇಂಟರ್ವ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಟೂ ಸೋಲ್ಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್? ಸಿ, ಇಂಟರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತಂತೆ, ಒಂದು 25 ಮಿನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಆಗಲ್ವಾ? ಇಂಟರ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತಂತೆ, ಒಂದು 25 ಮಿನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಆಗಲ್ವಾ? ರೈಟ್, ಕಮ್. The conservative section of the Indian society, they feared that section of the Indian society, they feared that English would convert India into Christianity in the name of progress and change. They feared that English would convert India into Christianity in the name of progress and change. In the name of progress and change. The spokesperson of company, William Grant, spokesperson, BJP spokesperson, Congress spokesperson, so East Indian company spokesperson, William Grant, he declared in the parliament that it was the divine responsibility to convert India into Christianity. In which parliament he discussed this? British parliament. It was the divine responsibility. Devare heliruvanta kartavya to convert India into Christianity. William Grant. This may be, I am expecting this in prelims. See, ಈ ತರದ attitude of the British ನಿಮಗೆ ನೋಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ, this will help you in elimination technique of UPSC prelims. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಎಲಿಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಆಟಿಟ್ಯೂಡ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ, ಓಕೆ ಇವರು ಹೀಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ಬೋದೇನೋ ಅಥವಾ ಇದು ರೈಟ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದೇನೋ ಈ ಆಪ್ಷನ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಯಾವುದು?
Spokesperson William Grant in British Parliament.
He told this is the divine responsibility to convert India into Christianity. Then also, this is not actually a religion clash, because same reason, but this is not actually a culture clash. ಹಾಗೆ ಬರೀ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನೀವು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಬರೆದು ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದೇನೋ ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದೇನೋ ಬರೀತೀರ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಸೇಮ್ ರೀಸನ್ ವೈ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್. ಏನು ಹೇಳಿ?
ಅದು ಬಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ
ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮ್, ರೈಟ್? ಆರ್ ಹಿಂದೂ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಹಿಂದೂಸ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್, and Hindu versus Muslim most of the times, right?
Because India versus India.
ಹಾ, ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರಿಬೇಕಲ್ಲ ಆನ್ಸರ್. ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಅಂತ ಬರೆಯೋದಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಅವಾಗ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ ಆ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ? ಎಸ್, ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್. ಎಸ್, ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್, ಬಟ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆನ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎಂಟೈರ್. Because most of the times this is Indians versus Indians. At the time, both Indians have their own culture. This is not a foreign culture. So most of the times Hindu landlords, they exploited Hindu cultivators. At the time, where is true religion here? So because of that, in 1857, these cultivators, they grouped together and they voted against the same Hindu landlord. So where is this religion thing here? Right? So this is entirely not religion clash. This is some part it is yes, some part it is yes. Right? This is the thing. Conclude this. Right, in 1856, Lord Dalhousie introduced it. Very important. Indian Inheritance Act. Lord Dalhousie introduced it, Indian Inheritance Act, or Religious Disability Act. This is another name. Disability Act. Religious Disability Act, providing property rights to converted sons and daughters. Converted successors, converted sons and daughters. ನಾನು ಹಿಂದೂ, ನನ್ನ ಮಗ ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯನ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಮಗಳು ಹಿಂದೂ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. ಈ ತರ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಲಾ ನಾನು ಅವರಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಆಸ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಬ್ರಾಟ್ ಬೈ ದ ಡಾಲ್ಹೌಸಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಟು divide my property into two, and this is must. Even after the conversion they have all the rights over their ancestors' property. This is Indian Inheritance Act which was implemented by Lord Dalhousie in India. This is again the spirit of the Dharma Shastra which Hindus follow. In Dharma Shastra, in Manu Shastra, this is the Hindu legal text, right? One who converted from Hinduism to some other religion, they lose the ancestors' property rights. So this would become, this Dharma Shastra would become an obstacle for the conversion. To remove the obstacle for the path of the conversion, what he did? He implemented this act. See, first he looked upon what is the obstacle in the way of conversion. This is this property issue. So what he brought? He gave a legal text for that. Okay, even after conversion also you are whole and sole owner for your ancestors' property. Then everybody they started to convert. One more on the wall of deciding like whether I convert or not, they are motivated to convert. Because they will not going to lose the ancestral property, because we have today Religious Disability Act or Indian Inheritance Act. So this act, even after conversion, they have all the rights of their ancestral property over their ancestral property. So conversion become easy after this. This is the thing. So this is one of the religious factors. Conservation society they went against the Britishers in 1857. Right? This kind of religious unwanted interference of the Britishers. Right? Next. Take it in problems of the sepoys. See, within the British army, there are hundreds of Indian sepoys, right? Then also they used to face the discrimination. The highest post they didn't get. Even they are efficient, then also they did not get the highest post. These are the things. Discrimination. Salary discrimination ittu, ella tarada discrimination ittu, and that made them to went against their own leaders, their own masters, right? Write something. Problems of the sepoys. The first one, the Indian sepoys built British Empire in India by killing our own counterparts. Yes or no? Indian sepoys built British Empire in India by killing our own men, our own countrymen, our own counterparts. Then also, even though the Indian sepoy rated better than the English, means he was more efficient than the English, even though the Indian sepoy rated better than the English in fighting skills and all, in his efficiency, he was discriminated within the British army. No Indian sepoys was promoted more than Jotedars, more than the post of Jotedars. No Indian sepoys was promoted beyond the rank of Jotedars. What is Jotedar? It's a junior officer in Indian Army. Junior officer. So nobody was promoted beyond the rank of this Jotedars. Nobody, no Indian was promoted. Even though they are efficient and well enough to get higher ranks, they didn't get discrimination. Secondly, sepoys are not even given additional allowances which the British men used to get, called batta. Now we go bata anta karithiru. right? Bata is extra allowance. Even though they face discrimination in getting allowances called bata, because English Sipais they used to get this extra allowances called bata, but Indians they didn't get this. Next, in 1856, Service Enlistment Act was passed. Very important. This was passed by Dalhousie. Service Enlistment Act. Service Enlistment Act just 1 year before, 1856, by Dalhousie. Prohibited Sipais from observing. This act prohibited Sipais from observing cultural, their customary, this religious things in army sheds. By observing their customary and their rituals in army camps or military troops, military camps, whatever. ಏನಿದು by passing this act ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ನೀವು ನಮಾಜ್ ಮಾಡೋಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಪ್ರೇಯರ್ ಮಾಡೋಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀವೇನೋ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಎದ್ದು ಸಂಧ್ಯಾ ವಂದನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಮಿಲಿಟರಿ ಆಫೀಸರ್, ನೋ ಯು ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಲೌಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಏನಿದೆ ಕುಂಕುಮ ಹಾಕೋಗಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀವೇನೋ ಹೂವು ಇಡೋ, ನಿಮ್ದು ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಏನೋ ಸ್ಯಾಕ್ರೆಡ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ವೇರ್ ಮಾಡೋಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಟೈ ಮಾಡೋಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕೈ, ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ರಿಚುವಲ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಮನೇಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಕೆಲಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ. ದಿಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ದೇ ಲೀಗಲೈಸ್ಡ್ ಇಟ್ through this act, Service Enlistment Act of 1853. This was the immediate reason for the attack, immediate reason for the revolt. Okay, and through this act only, they introduced Royal Enfield guns. Enfield guns, bullet, Royal Enfield guns. The Sipais suspected that cartridges, ಅದನ್ನ ಈಗ ಹಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಕಿತ್ತು ತೆಗಿಬೇಕಿತ್ತು cartridges. The cartridges of these guns must contain either cow fat or pig fat. Must contain either cow fat or pig fat. So they suspected this, and because of this suspicion, they refused to operate these guns. The matter of conviction for Sipais, that become matter of discipline for the English. This is a wonderful line. The matter of conviction for the Sipais, that become matter of discipline for the English. ನಾನು ಇದು ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, because I am convicted for my own things. If I did this, my own religious things. So if you bring this, if you are not agree for this, means this is a matter of discipline for us. This is the English point of view. Okay, this statement is a wonderful statement. So Colonel Mitchell regiment was first to be disbanded. Right, Colonel Mitchell, MIDTCHILL. Colonel Mitchell regiment was first to be disbanded for this. On March 29 of 1857. Mangal Pandey and his cousin Ishwar Pandey both belongs to 34 native number 34 native regiment. Mangal Pandey and Ishwar Pandey, they belongs to number 34 native regiment of infantry of Barakpur. They revolted against the British. For this, both were hanged. Next, Captain Bhakta Khan Bakhta Khan, he had the 3rd Cavalry Force at Meerut. He had the 3rd Cavalry Force at Meerut. He took the leadership. And they worked out conspiracy against the Britishers. They worked out, underline Captain Bakhta Khan, he was the leader. The Sipais worked out conspiracy against the Britishers and they declared, or don't say declared, they decided May 31st, 1857. May 31st, 1857 was the actual date for the revolution or the actual date for the revolt. May 31st, 1857. Underline these things. Bakhta Khan and team, they did conspiracy and they decided May 31st, 1857 should be the date. Avat Marana and they decided ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. That was the actual date of the revolt. And next point, right? Logistics worked out. Logistics worked out. For everyone, ಅವರು ಏನು ಲಾಜಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಔಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಏನನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರು ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಲಾಜಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಔಟ್ ಔಟ್ ದಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಸಿಪಾಯಿ or you can say for every white sipai there were 5 Indian sipai at that time. For May 31st, 1857 they worked out the logistics ಎಷ್ಟು ರೇಷಿಯೋ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. For one British sipai there were 5 Indian sipais. ಯಾವತ್ತು May 31st, 1857 ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಇವತ್ತಿಗಿರೋ ನಂಬರ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ 5 ಜನ ಇದೀವಿ, ಸೊ ನಾವೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ದ ಲಾಜಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ವಾಸ್ ಟರ್ನ್ ಡೌನ್. Turned down later. Means ಅವ್ರು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಆರ್ಮಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಬಂದು ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್. ಅದು ಮುಂದೆ ನೋಡಿ. Turn down, full stop, have a full stop there. In important cities like Delhi, Lucknow, Meerut, Kanpur, these are the important sites. This is one of the old UPSC question. What are the important sites? Cities for 1857. What? Delhi, Lucknow, Kanpur, Meerut. There was no white mutiny. What is white mutiny? White mutiny. M-U-T-I-N-Y. White mutiny means what? British army, which contains Indians, right? The Indian soldiers revolting against the British masters is white mutiny. Okay? You know what? In freedom struggle of India's freedom struggle, in entire India's freedom struggle, the naval ratings of Bombay, that was the one of the white mutiny. Naval ratings of the Bombay, that was the one of the last mutiny, last white mutiny, and that was the last freedom struggle in entire Indian history. While discussing the India's freedom struggle, I'll discuss the last one. Namdu normal ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಕ್ವಿಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ದಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಮುಗೀತು. ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಸತ್ಯಾಗ್ರಹ ವಾಸ್ ದಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಮುಗೀತು. ನೋ ನೋ ನೋ. ನಾವಲ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಾಂಬೆ ನಾವಲ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಎಸ್ ವೈಟ್ ಮಿಟಿನಿ. ವೈಟ್ ಮಿಟಿನಿ ಅಂತ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ವೈಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ಮಿ, ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಆರ್ಮಿ ಒಳಗೆ ಇರೋ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ಗಳೇ ಅವ್ರ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೋಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವೈಟ್ ಮಿಟಿನಿ. ಓಕೆ, ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ದಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್. So whenever you find the word white mutiny means that is Indian soldiers within the English army, they revolted against their own masters. That is white mutiny. That was happened in a Bombay naval base. Okay, at the last of our freedom struggle. And ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಬರೋ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದಿನ ಮುಂಚೆ ಅದು ನಡೆದಿತ್ತು. That was the last fight of our freedom struggle. Right? Now we are discussing the first one, first Indian independence, 1857. Okay. Right? Time on top. So what are the other factor which made immediate we discussed it, right? say have some points here. ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಹಾಕಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿದೆ. In 1856, Santals defeated English, right?
Yes.
That gave a tremendous motivation for the national leaders. And 1857, that was the time. Next point, this is next point. That was the time where England was going for Crimea war with Russia. Crimea was another country, that is a place, another place. Both England and Russia, they are fighting each other for that Crimea region. So England was busy in that war. So let us do war here. This is another motivation for this revolution, for this revolt. England was busy in Crimea war with Russia. ಇದನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಫಿಟ್ ಆಗೋಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. And another motivation was when when Battle of Plassey happened, Britishers entered India truly. When Battle of Plassey happened, 1757. So 100 years, right? So ಅದನ್ನು motivation ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. This was the 100 years of Battle of Plassey. So on the 100 years, let us end the British rule in India. On the century of the rule of the British, this is enough. This is another motivation for them. For the sepoys. 1757 to 1857, 100 years. However, next line. Due date was preponed. Due date, what is the due date? 31 May 1857. So 31 May 1857. That was preponed to May 10. May 10. The reason behind was the additional army of the English in Burma or Myanmar. The additional army of the English in Burma or Myanmar was all set to join the British army in India. If that was the case, the Indian versus British army would become 5-5. So then at that time this become very difficult to defeat them. So they preponed the date from May 31st to May 10. That's why they revised their strategy to go for revolution before the additional troops would join the existing troops. They revised and they preponed the date before the additional troops joining the Indian army, right? So on the May 10th of 1857 midnight, revolt started. First time revolt started at Meerut. And who was the boss of this revolt? Under the name of whom the revolt went? Who is the king? Yar underly. At that time, Mughal means India, India means Mughal. Bahadur Shah, the great Mughal emperor, he became the nominal head of the entire 1857 revolt. Even he don't know. He was forced to become namesake leader. The revolts, the sepoys, the revolutionaries, they declared Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Jafar, full name, Bahadur Shah Jafar as Emperor of India and head of the revolution. At that time, India means Mughal, Mughal means India. Because of that, they consider he was the Emperor of India and he forced him to be a leader of that revolt. And he also did controversial role and everything that we are going to discuss in our later classes. You know what? Being a leader, he joined hands with the Britishers. In a back door. Okay. Why 1857 revolt is a disaster? Because of this kind of decision of the sepoys. They thought this big leaders, Mughal leaders, they should be the leader. Then only this will become entire India's revolt. Otherwise, it will become one part's revolt. At that time, the India means Mughal. So let us make this Mughal emperor as the leader of the revolt. That was the wrong, that was the mistake they did. Because they didn't look after how actual this emperor was. Right? He was the idiot fellow. What he did? He, being a leader of this big revolt, he joined the revolution and later on. Okay, this is it. So 1857 revolt is not a small topic. This is the biggest topic in your modern Indian history. Again, I need one class for this. Okay, entire class for the 1857 revolt. Here I have to discuss centers and the leaders of revolt and how the British suppressed this revolt and what are the things they did for this suppression and reason for the failure of this revolt. There are a lot of reasons again, and this is one of the old UPSC mains question. Reason for the there is internal reasons, there is external reasons. Let us discuss and reasons in different sections of the society, zamindars and peasants, and in between the communities, and result of the revolt. Very important. I need an entire class. And how the attitude of the British changed after this revolt. Right? Good governance started in India. Development increases in India. In the name of good governance, they increase development. See, nature and character of the 1857 revolt at the end. Eastern discuss madagiri one class ಸಾಕಾಗಬಹುದೇನು one class ಸಾಕಾಗಬಹುದು entire class on 1857 revolt I need. Because high yielding area, UPSC favorite area 1857 revolt. Even KPS, ಎಲ್ಲ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಏರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಮಾಡಿರೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೇ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವ್ಯೂ. ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ 1857 revolt. Okay? Remember? Yes. Who is absent? ನಾಳೆ ಸ್ಯಾಟರ್ಡೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ನಾಳೆ ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ನನಗೆ ಇಂದ್ರಪ್ರಸ್ಥ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಉಂಟು. ನನಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಓರಿಯಂಟೇಷನ್ ಸೆಷನ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು, ಈ ಸತಿ ಕರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ನಾವು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ ಅಂತ.